disgusting. It makes me want.
Why? You know, does that mean, like, when you actually think about this, that people like Etienne de Vignon, who's the president of the group, is the most important man who actually makes these decisions on behalf of the rest of the group? And if that's the case, where does individuals such as David Rockefeller or the Rothschilds, where do they fit into the equation? Again, to understand how these people work, you have to understand one very important thing. It's not a top-down system. By top-down, again, excuse me for crossing. By top-down, what I mean is, it's not that you have, like in a corporation, you have a president, vice president, board of directors, senior directors, you have toilet cleaners. It's not like that. It's like this. It's literally groups who are interlocked amongst themselves with other groups. You have the Bilderberg group, which is the most exclusive, let's say, because it's the most secret of secret societies, has 130, 120 members. Then you have organizations such as the CFR, Council on Foreign Relations, which is the American version of Bilderberg, obviously not nearly as powerful, but far more diluted. And then you have the Trilateral Commission, which includes Americas, Europe, and Asia. That's trilateral. Of course, there's 325 of them. But again, they're interlocked amongst themselves. And the reason it's done this way, and again, it's very important to understand this, it's not a top-down pyramid. It's this. Because if you get lucky enough by trying to swipe at the head, you will never get at it if it's a system. You understand what I mean? It's done this way. Again, to defeat a highly principled enemy, and I repeat, they're highly principled in their undertaking. You have to understand how they work, how their mindset works, how they function as a group, the internal mechanism of this organization in order actually to be able to do this. Now, if you look at it historically, in practical terms, you have at the end of January, you have Davos Economic Forum. In February, March, you have the CFR meetings and the Trilateral Commission General Committee meetings. Then in May, early June, the Bilderbergers meet for their annual meetings. End of September, you have the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank have their annual meeting. Then you have in October, November, December, Trilateral Commission meetings in Americas and Europe and in Asia. And then you have the World Trade Organization, the General Agreement on Trade and Tariffs, European Central Bank, regional meetings. Yet none of the people are leading this. It's not like somebody's telling these people what to do. But the decisions taken at one quickly get discussed at the other, and before you know it, Bilderbergers are talking about it and making a policy decision through consensus, and before you know it, European Parliament is talking about it. And before long, European Commission is discussing it. And before long, would you have national politicians in Spain, in France, in Italy, making it a key issue during the election season. And before you know it, national newspapers such as the Toronto Star, such as Google Police in Spain, Le Monde in France, the Times of London, The Economist, Wall Street Journal, they're putting these issues on the front cover of the newspapers. For example, in 1992, they talked for the first time about creating the United Nations Army. They also talked in 1996 about the need to create the Rapid Reaction Force, which is what? Any idea?
NATO.
Rapid Reaction Force is not NATO. Rapid Reaction Force is a European answer to the NATO army, one world army. Okay? The idea behind Rapid Reaction Force, which was brought up in 1996 as the Bilderberg Conference in King City in Canada, was literally, according to them, they should never allow another genocide and Holocaust to take place in Europe. So as an excuse to a future war in Kosovo, which was planned in 1996 in Canada, they started putting together their plans for the Rapid Reaction Force, which is going to be the European army, all right, of 60,000 people. So that's how it works, but nobody's leading these discussions. There's not one guy who tells everybody else what to do. It's not like Batman and Robin, okay, where the good guy is really, really good and really pretty, blonde, square-jawed, blue eyes, and really good in bed. And the other guy, the bad guy, is really ugly and, he smells bad. And it's not like that. You know what I mean? It doesn't work like that. These are the kinds of, cliches and platitudes you should really, really forget about. The idea is, again, no one is leading the discussions. It's not a top-down system. It's this. It's lateral. The decisions are taken at one, get rolled over and passed over, and before you know it, they become the key issues. And before you know it, BBC is talking about Europe's Rapid Reaction Force. And before long, 3 days after the Bilderbergers left Canada in 2006, You know, on the cover on the front page of the Toronto Star, which is the flagship for Bilderbergers in Canada, owned by that guy Michael Pritchard, you have the United Nations Army proposal, all right? And before long, the same Toronto Star and the Ottawa Citizen has two more interesting articles. Ontario to build nuclear reactors. It was discussed for the first time in 1996 when they broke up Ontario Hydro, all right? And it was discussed again in 2006, 10 years later, when they're talking about the need to create nuclear reactors. And before you know it, Harper, who was at the time was the Prime Minister of Canada, who attended Bilderberg conference in Canada, Ottawa, and gave the welcome address, the keynote address to the Bilderbergers. He's talking about rethinking the country. Well, curiously enough, that was one of the key issues on the Bilderberger agenda, literally rethinking the country. Do you guys understand now how this whole thing works? All right? That's why it's very, very important. Again, it's not a knee-jerk reaction. It's not a thing where you have this really, really bad guy. It's not like that at all. In order to fight these people, because again, you know, I think we're missing the opportunities, a lot of opportunities, because we're being led by the nose. But all this, you know, disinformation out there, in this sense, internet is, you know, wonderful, liberating media, but it's also an extremely dangerous piece of work because there's so much crap out there that goes on to it, all right? So again, the idea is, the key points up to now, what we've talked about is, the system itself is a self-perpetuating system, a virtual spider web of corporations and interests who are all interlocked amongst themselves. Nobody leaves, all right? Nobody leaves. And if somebody wants to leave, aside from the fact that they'll get killed, you know, through financial manipulation and shenanigans, their corporations will be destroyed on Wall Street. Now I'll show you how some of these interlocked relationships and directorships amongst the members work. And another key issue is, again, all these groups, the Bilderberg Group, the Trilateral Commission, the Council on Foreign Relations, the World Trade Organization, what else? The International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, Davos. All these organizations are working in unison. The people who attend them, if you really look at the list of attendees, the most important ones flow from one to the other, and all the other ones, again, the external layer of this onion, they just, you know, they're useful toys in this equation. They're not necessarily bad people, and most, I literally do mean most of the attendees have no idea what's going on.
Sorry about cutting Estulin off in mid-sentence, but my battery was running low. But you can always read his book, The Bilderberg Group,